about 6 months ago, a intuitive mentor guided me towards the idea of creating videos for like social media and YouTube, which at the time was totally bizarre to me. I'd never sort of contemplated doing anything like that. And in those videos, she sensed that I would be doing some sort of exercises. Again, quite bizarre that I would be doing that. Okay, so I kind of like put it on the back burner a little bit, but have been thinking about what I could possibly do on videos and what's sort of holding me back as well. Why wouldn't I want to do it? And public speaking has never bothered me. Even just the sort of, other people's opinions, that's never really bothered me that much either. I believe that we're all meant to be different. The beauty of being human is that we're a spectrum of different opinions and lifestyles and thought forms. Like, it's great, and I prefer life to be that way than to us all be like uniform and all have the same ideas and think the same. So if there's a difference in opinion, it's great. That shows that there's an element of freedom in the world, at least. So that's not bothering me. But I guess the reason why I would never thought I would ever do videos is because of this like contrived way of attracting attention. And I've always craved being anonymous and not having attention. So yeah, and when you put your stuff out there in the world, the intention, I guess, must be to share it with as many people as possible. Again, that's not something I've ever felt the need to do, but okay, well, am I holding information that I should be sharing in? Yes. And if we think about it, is sort of the social medias and YouTubes, are they the best and most efficient way to get material out to those who resonate with it? Yes, the World Wide Web is the best way in this day and age. So I've come to terms with the idea of making these videos, but it's just like, okay, what are these exercises going to be? And so the first thing that popped into my mind was, okay, well, what can't I do that I can at least improve on or show progress in? And I've never been able to touch my toes, not since I was, very small. I can't remember being able to do it as a child. I always put it down to, I've got like quite long legs, but I've got like super long arms too. So that's not really an excuse. They should balance each other out, surely. I was always sporty, but like not gymnastic, because team sports and running I'm into. And I've never really focused on flexibility. And like, why have I never done that? What's the resistance there? So I was going to do a series of boring ass shots, like of me day one, stretching. Yeah, I can reach like my mid shins, and then day by day improve until I eventually can touch my toes. Like, it's like, okay, great, maybe slightly inspiring, but boring. So I started it. I did day one where I can reach mid shin, and like a typical human being, just completely stopped. I didn't even make it to day two. Didn't bother with it. Left it. Like, the habit just didn't become ingrained in my life at all until I went to a Reformer Pilates class. So I do that quite regularly, but this class was particularly stretchy. And in that class, all I wanted to do was cry. So it's like, okay, there's something in that. And I've heard before, like, people saying, or sometimes if you stretch, emotions can, want to sort of come up, because often where we're tight, we're storing a lot of dense energy. And if you sort of start to stretch it, or it like releases and it wants to all come up. And that was like a key sort of into like a locked doorway that I couldn't see. It was like, okay, why have I always had tight hamstrings? That's really the question. And why am I so resistant or like not even willing to want to stretch them? You know, you could see the resistance. I just did day one and I just didn't want to do day two. So what's the real root cause of tight hamstrings? And it's not necessarily sitting at a desk all day or lack of movement. I'm coming in these videos from a more of an energetic perspective. So on the path of doing this, like touching the toes video, experimenting, like wondering like what it is I'm going to speak about, I'm sort of realizing along the way about, I guess, what my dharma is. If you don't want to know what a dharma is like a human's unique gift. And if they follow their passion and sort of master that skill, you know, they can bring abundance to the world and abundance back to themselves. But often in today's modern society, most people don't follow their passions and they end up in sort of jobs they hate and they don't know who they are. Okay, so yeah, this whole video was about me exploring, I guess, how I can put my authentic self out to the world through a video form. So I came back after that Reformer Pilates session and Googled why someone might have tight hamstrings. Now, what comes up for me on that Google will be completely different to what comes up for somebody else, because our reality is a subjective projection. Even the internet it will be a different mirror to me than somebody else. It's sort of like a mirror of our previous choices in life. So, and reality does work very similarly to the internet, this reality on planet Earth right now anyway. So I Googled it and a page came up and sort of bullet points, read through them, and instantly I knew the one it resonated with me. It was not feeling like you belong on planet Earth. I was like, oh God, I've felt like that my whole life. Not in a negative way as such, but in the way that I was always a misfit, an outlier. I questioned why we had to do everything this way. Why can't we just do it anyway? And most people I found didn't like thinking that way. They love their sort of familiarity, or well, this is just the way it's done. And a lot of people like to be told what to do as well, or just, you know, feel nannied in a way, because then you don't have total responsibility of your life. And when you take full responsibility to create your own reality, it takes, I guess, an element of courage and being a misfit away from the mainstream, which has been conditioned a certain way. So yeah, I was always an outlier, and that's why I never really felt like I totally belonged. So that was interesting that it was linked to tight hamstrings. And intuitively, I did a very gentle stretch, putting my leg against my wall, up on it. And for 2 minutes, and this is the most important thing, it wasn't a stretch. There's an intention behind the stretch. But the most important thing I did here was to imagine what it would feel like to be in a world where I belonged. And it wasn't imagining, like, you know, we can have daydreams or we can think about a past event in our mind and it's almost like a record player. But that can be sometimes quite a projection and totally sort of detached from the emotion behind it. This was really feeling how it would feel like. So like lots of like really high emotions sort of bathed me during this stretch, and joy, happiness, feeling valued, accepted, and unafraid to speak my mind. So I did it 2 minutes on each side, so 4 minutes in total. And I stood up to test whether, oh, maybe I can like stretch a little bit further now. And I did feel a lot looser. And instantly I was able to touch my toes. After an entire lifetime of not being able to touch them, I managed to do it by breaking the limitations of the mind. I did it straight away. Literally got the worst socks on. Because if we think about our sort of physical bodies, they are the full stop behind a huge energetic influence. It's all information, it's blueprints instructing the way we render ourselves in the material world. So healing can be incredibly quick if we address the energetic influences. Why it's not quick in today's world, in this reality, in the third dimension, is that a lot of focus is put on that third dimensional full stop, the body, without addressing any of those energetic blueprints coming in. And, you know, it makes more sense to, if you will, if I liken it to amend the, if we're building a house, so amend the drawing of the house so then the house becomes the vision you want, rather than trying to like build a house and then knock it down and then build a house and then you do need that blueprint to be the ideal version that you want. And ultimately those blueprints come from our own thoughts, our mind. The external reality is a reflection of our internal reality. So when I feel like I belong in a world, I can then touch the ground. Whereas before, and the body works in a very metaphorical way, almost humorous. That's what I've discovered in the last few years. And, you know, it listens to instructions. Belief being the most potent healer of all time. So, yeah, I could touch the ground because I felt more grounded in this reality than the one I felt like a bit of a misfit in this entire time. So there it was. I'd found my Dharma because, you know, the idea of me doing exercises didn't make any sense to me because I'm not an instructor. On a scale of 0 to 10 in terms of flexibility, I would put myself at a 2. It's not my Dharma to be an instructor. I like to go to classes to be instructed by people who are super into it. That's their passion. My mission, I guess, now is to be a layman example of how we can heal by breaking our own sense of limitation, purely by using the mind. And that whole exercise and learning how to touch my toes was a beautiful sort of pathway for me to realize that, and it's going to influence all of my videos following on from this. That's where, like, I guess my authenticity comes in. So I hope you can benefit from it. If it doesn't happen to you the first time, if you try touching your toes, it's basically a matter of belief. I've come to a place where I've healed many ailments over the past few years, and I believe the body can heal itself, and we heal ourselves every day, you know. But many of us, and me in the past, if we place sort of our faith in external saviors and not ourselves, then your body won't listen to you, basically. So, yeah. On to the next video.